Hello, good evening. It's News 360 coming to you live from the News Hub here at Adesawe Kanda. I am Portia Gabo.
And I am Martin Asiedu Data. These are the headlines for the next 1 hour.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
President John Mahama's directive to leadership of majority in Parliament to withdraw the private members' bill to repeal the OSP Act ruffles feathers.
And also coming up tonight, accused persons in the 1.4 billion SML GRA revenue assurance deal plead not guilty.
And later in the bulletin, the Chief of Defense Staff and the Inspector General of Police issue strong warning to criminals ahead of the festive season.
Coming up in business news, Social Security and National Insurance Trust introduces mandatory annual pensioner certificate renewal policy from April 2026.
On the international front, Kenyan court suspends the implementation of a landmark $2.5 billion health aid deal signed with the U.S. last week over data privacy concerns.
We have details of all these stories and many more coming up in the next 1 hour. Do stay with us.
We're starting from Parliament because the first Deputy Minority Whip, Habib Idrisu, has criticized President John Mahama for asking 2 NDC MPs to withdraw a bill they are drafting to repeal the office of the Special Prosecutor. Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga and the Majority Chief Whip, Roxanne Nelson Dapamakpo, have initiated a law to abolish the act that establishes the OSP, arguing that the office has failed to serve its purpose and duplicates functions of the Attorney General. Speaking on the floor of Parliament a few hours ago after a statement from the presidency, Habib Idrisu denounced the move and described the action as executive influence over the legislature.
Mr. Speaker, because of the inadequate releases of Parliament, and the executive want to control Parliament. Now the president is dictating to members of Parliament. When the majority chief whip and the majority leader file or intend to file a private member's bill, the president is telling them to reduce it. Why? Their oversight, their rule as members of Parliament. Because of what? To withdraw. We have the official letter from the presidency to the members of Parliament. But he has instructed that you should withdraw it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the executive have no authority to dictate what happened in Parliament, Mr. Speaker.
Right, so that's what the Minority Chief Whip has been saying in Parliament. Now let's go specifically to the letter he's referring to, which is said to have come from the office of the President. It is signed by Felix Kwachefosu, who is the Government Communications Minister, and on your screens shortly you see the details of that statement. It says President John Mahama has requested that the Majority Leader and the Majority Chief Whip in Parliament withdraw the private members' bill tabled for the repeal of the act establishing the office of the Special Prosecutor. The President's request follows his recent public expression of support for strengthening the office of the Special Prosecutor as a vital institution in the fight against corruption, made during a meeting with the Peace Council yesterday. The President also reiterates his call on the Office of the Special Prosecutor to enhance its efforts to boost public confidence in its work and to tackle corruption decisively in line with the objectives that informed the establishment of the office. So those are the words captured in the statement that was sent to Parliament to inform the Majority Leader and the Majority Chief Whip to withdraw their private members' bill that they are seeking to lay ostensibly to ensure that the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act be repealed or abolished. So Many have expressed varied opinions on this particular development, and we'll pick one of those thoughts in a moment. But for you watching and listening, I'm sure you'd also have understood that key individuals who've commented on this, some say that the office in its entirety should be scrapped. Others believe that it is the occupant of that office or the individual sitting on the office, in the office, is the one that they are hoping be removed. That's where the confusion is. But as it stands now, what the two NDC MPs were seeking is the total scrapping of the office, which the president is said to have intervened, and the minority disagree with the president's act asking those two NDC MPs to withdraw the bill. So in the moment, when we do get our resource person, we'll put a few questions to him regarding that. But do let us know what your thoughts are also on this particular subject, and we'll be happy to share it with the rest of the world. So I'm told that we have the Executive Director for the Parliamentary Network Africa, Sami Obeng, joining us via Zoom for this very important conversation. Mr. Obeng, good evening, and thank you for joining us on News 360. Hello, Sami Obeng.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Great. Thanks for joining us. To start with,
yes, I can hear you.
Yes, has the president overreached his powers by asking the majority leader and the majority chief whip to withdraw the private members' bill? Is that a position you share?
Well, it's important to put this in context. It is my understanding that the said draft legislation, the bill, was a legislative intention that was being planned by the majority leader and his chief whip to put through the processes for admission in Parliament before it can be laid for what we usually will call the first reading of a bill, and then it goes through the lawmaking process. So as it stands now, it is not a bill that had been laid in Parliament, and if my understanding from reading news articles on the subject is correct, and also our checks as PN Africa from our monitoring is correct, what that means is that this is not one of those bills that had been laid in Parliament for which the Parliament has seized ownership of it officially, and the president had asked that it be withdrawn. Be that as it may, I think that out of the spirit of separation of powers, and also for public perception's sake, it is not accurate, or it's not proper for His Excellency the President, through a letter that was made public. I'm not really too sure what the communications office of the president wanted to achieve with this, making a public, putting out a public letter to say that the president has called on these two members of parliament. I noticed that they tried to use the words quite carefully, not to create the impression that he had directed or anything, but literally saying that he had appealed somewhat to these members of parliament to withdraw. I think that His Excellency the President, like anybody else who has an interest in a particular piece of legislation, whether it goes through or does not go through, like us in civil society who may have interest in some of these matters, because some of us who have been advocating for this Office of Special Prosecutor and the act that was passed in 2017 certainly did not want any move that sees to the repeal of that particular act. We have the pathway to be able to advocate on the side for these kinds of intentions to be withdrawn. The president could have done this in private conversations with the members of parliament involved, or indicated to them his unwillingness to sign this when it came for purposes of his endorsement after its passage, etc., etc. I think that the public show of calling on these members of parliament is improper, and it flies in the face of separation of powers.
Right, but Sami, you agree, or are you also saying invariably that it is not out of place for the president to, for instance, ask the leadership of the majority side to reconsider the action? You think that making that information public in and of itself is not a good act from the office of the president? Is that it?
The president, just like any other Ghanaian or any other stakeholder who has interest in a particular piece of legislation, anytime that legislation is before Parliament, we've been doing this over and over on various pieces of legislation, could try to influence either the passage or the non-passage, except that out of the spirit of separation of powers, there are certain officials who necessarily must not be doing this with a public show. and the president is one of those. And so, yes, His Excellency the President as an individual may not want this particular move. He probably will feel slighted about the fact that a bill like that gets passed through Parliament and then it comes to him and he may have to assent to it, for which he would refuse to assent, etc., etc. But I think we are having this conversation because there is a public release that says that His Excellency has called on these members of Parliament not to go on with the promotion of that particular bill. And yes, in the spirit of His Excellency being the head of the executive and the kind of influence that we know that the executive has on a member of Parliament who is leader of government business in Parliament, who is intending to put across a private member's bill, it does not augur well, and right. This could have been avoided. I think that the members of Parliament could have issued a release to say that we intended to do this, but we are no longer doing this because stakeholders have engaged us, because we've seen the civil society pressure going on, etc., etc., etc. And that would have been a tidier way of dealing with this particular move, which was a wrong move in the first place, trying to put out a bill to repeal the Office of Special Prosecutor Act.
Right. Sami, thank you for your time. And in the coming days, we'll see how all of this plays out and the various reactions that will be greeting it. Sami Obenye is the Executive Director for the Parliamentary Network Africa.
In more news tonight, the Electoral Commission's move to stage the Bandai rerun on December 30 has ignited a new political fight, with the NPP signaling a legal challenge over what it calls a premature and unlawful rush to the polls. The decision follows a Tamale High Court ruling on November 24 this year, which annulled the result of the 2024 parliamentary poll.
The Electoral Commission clarified that only the 3 candidates who contested the 2024 election will be eligible to participate in the rerun, a move intended to preserve continuity. The NPP has reacted strongly, warning that it will pursue further legal action to contest the rerun date and the processes that led to the seat being declared vacant. The embattled MP, Matthew Nyindam, whose victory in 2024 was nullified, has described the entire process as confusing, unfair and premature. His legal team argues that the High Court's orders should be suspended pending appeal, and that the EC's scheduling of a rerun while the case is being contested undermines due process. The issue spilled into the parliamentary chamber, with minority MPs forcing the suspension of proceedings after protesting the notification declaring the seat vacant. Minority MPs chanted and banged tables in objection, citing what they call premature action ahead of legal processes. In response, Majority Leader Mahama Yariga defended Parliament. Reacting to the development, former Vice President Dr. Baumia has criticized the Electoral Commission for what he calls an indecent haste in scheduling a rerun of the Bandai parliamentary election.
It looks like our institutions of democracy and our tenets of democracy are being undermined. Matthew Nyindam should be given his day in court. He has filed appeal processes at the High Court. He has filed for a judicial review at the Supreme Court. And none of those cases has been adjudicated. So why the rush? Why the indecent haste? I think that he's being railroaded. I think that we should take a halt to these processes.
For the NDC, however, they are prepared to win the elections.
We are very sure that the NDC is going to emerge victorious come 30th December. In fact, we have prepared adequately for the election, and we want to give our opponents a heavy defeat, not a small margin. We want to give them heavy defeat.
Think tank Election Watch says all stakeholders in elections have roles to play to protect the integrity of the electoral process.
We are urging, especially the NDC and the NPP, not to withdraw, but to participate in this election to improve participatory democracy and inclusive engagement. The Commission will continue to urge them to demonstrate that greater diligence in its mandate and ensure that there is strict adherence to electoral guidance and protocols.
As the political temperature rises in Bandai, all eyes are on the court's ruling on the stay of execution, the impending December 18 hearing, and what impact the December 30 rerun will have in Parliament.
Let's go to the courts now. Accused persons in the over 1.4 billion cedi SMLGRA revenue assurance deal have pleaded not guilty to various corruption and corruption-related charges. The special prosecutor, Kisei Jabin, brought the charges of using public office for personal profit, directly or indirectly influencing the procurement process to obtain unfair advantage. 6's Dong Ulu filed this report.
The court took off to a constitutional and procedural argument by lawyers for Kojo Damwa, who protested the manner in which hearing notice for the day was served on the accused. The lawyers argued that the service breached Article 117 of the Constitution and other standard protocols between the judicial and parliamentary services. The special prosecutor, however, insisted that Kojo Damwa's bail conditions allowed his office to summon him and the other accused persons at any given time, and that it was an exercise of this power that the office summoned all the accused persons on the purposes of service of the notice of hearing on them. The public outrage against the special prosecutor on the extradition of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta also got an answer when the special prosecutor announced that the processes have been initiated. He told the court that the processes commenced on 19th November for the apprehension of both Ken Ofori-Atta and Ernest Dako Akori to Ghana by the U.S. authorities. To this end, Mr. Kisei Jabin prayed the court to issue summons to serve the charges on both accused persons believed to be living in the U.S.
And away from the courts, the Vice President, Professor Jenano Opoku-Agyeman, has received her fellow Vice President from Colombia, Francia Elena Marquez Mena, who is on a 3-day state visit. The two leaders expressed a shared vision for mutual progress and growth. Our Vice Presidential Correspondent, Evelyn Tinma, reports.
Colombia and Ghana have enjoyed diplomatic relations for decades, with Colombia opening an embassy in Ghana in 2013. Over the years, the two countries have strengthened their ties. The visit by the Colombian Vice President, Francia Elena Marquez Mena, is to further deepen the relations and to strengthen their partnerships across multiple sectors. Ghana's Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, was pleased to receive her fellow Vice President and stressed the need for them to develop a forward-looking partnership that goes beyond bilateral relations and addresses global challenges.
There are avenues for cooperation in several sectors, including education, agriculture, cultural exchange, trade, tourism, multilateral engagement, and others. Colombia stands to benefit from our dynamic investment landscape and growing markets in agriculture, energy, and services. Ghana particularly values Colombia's enduring support for the teaching of the Spanish language in Ghana. And I was asking that we expand that part to send teachers of English from Ghana to Colombia too.
She also urged that they leverage their shared Afro-descendant heritage for cultural and economic initiatives.
This enduring connection provides a strong foundation for joint initiatives in heritage tourism, cultural preservation, and diaspora engagement. These are initiatives that celebrate our shared past while creating meaningful opportunities for social inclusion and economic advancement. We recognize that the global climate challenge demands coordinated efforts guided by fairness, sense of responsibility, and a collective resolve to safeguard our planet.
Francia Elena Marquez Mena was happy for the warm reception and promised to collaborate with Ghana. The two countries later signed a memorandum of understanding.
The World Health Expo Leaders Africa 2025 brought together health experts, innovators, and policymakers from across the continent with a focus on women's health, family planning, and strengthening health systems. And so conversations. There's more in this story. All right, so we'll bring you that story in a moment. But we are also expecting you to let us know what you make of the many stories we've brought to you this evening on our Facebook and YouTube streams. On to some other stories. The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General William Ejapong, and the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohuno, have issued a strong warning to criminals ahead of the festive season. They are simply saying, stay off. The security leaders say they are fully prepared for any eventualities as the country heads into the festive season. Joseph Armstrong has more on this report.
More than 736 security personnel drawn from the Ghana Armed Forces, the Police Service, Immigration Service, Prison Service, Customs Division and the Fire Service converged at the Black Star Square on Thursday morning in high spirits. They moved out in over 150 security vehicles, forming 5 operational teams, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta and Echo, to tour principal streets of Accra. Their mission is to access the 5 major entry points into the capital as part of an exercise to test operational readiness. My team, Team Alpha, took over the Kaswa stretch towards Budumbram on the Accra Cape Coast Highway. Team Bravo moved towards the Tema Aflao corridor. Teams Charlie, Delta and Echo accessed the Akosombo, Ebri and Insawam highways, all critical access routes into Accra. At every major junction, traders and passerby paused to watch the show of force, many taking videos as a security convoy rode past, displaying armory and equipment. At the end of the hours-long tour, the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohuno, assured the public that the police are ready to combat any form of crime during the festive season.
This exercise that we have conducted today is very good for us to prepare the ground and also to give assurance to Ghanaians that we are ready to protect them throughout this Christmas and beyond. This is also to send a strong warning to the criminals wherever they are, that will go all out and make sure that it will be very uncomfortable for them to operate during this period of time.
Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General William Ejapong, reaffirmed plans to equip security agencies.
As we approach the Xmas season, this is the time that we need to up our game more than ever. We want you to maintain a very deterring posture, be on the alert, and stand by for any eventuality. Under the Big Push initiative, His Excellency, the President in the Republic of Ghana, has assured that the security services will have a very significant chunk of that project.
Deputy Defense Minister Ernest Brojajimfi also emphasized government's commitment to supporting the security services to maintain peace and safety throughout the holidays.
I wish to assure you that the government remains fully committed to strengthening and equipping our security institutions. We recognize that modern security threats require advanced technology to tackle these threats. Accordingly, government will continue to invest in the provision of appropriate equipment, logistics, training, and welfare to enable you perform your constitutional mandate effectively.
This multi-agency operation forms part of a broader effort to test the country's readiness and ensure a safe Christmas for all. Officials say the joint exercise is not only a show of force but a demonstration of heightened vigilance as the festive season approaches.
For the men and women in uniform, they believe they are ever ready to safeguard this country and its territorial integrity. Hopefully, government will help in retooling both the military and other security agencies to combat any crime or any eventualities. Joseph Armstrong, Gold, Alibi TV3, Accra.
Also known as Cobra One. Right, let's go to one of the stories we have for you this evening. The World Health Expo Leaders Africa 2025 brought together health experts, innovators, and policymakers from across the continent with a focus on women's health, family planning, and strengthening health systems. And Organon is leading the conversation.
Organon, a global healthcare company, is highlighting its work advancing women's health in Africa. From family planning to sexual and reproductive health services, the company has impacted 34 sub-Saharan African countries, providing access to vital healthcare solutions. Organon's country lead for Africa Access Markets, Mogadi Mashishi, highlighted the company's commitment to sustainable financing and strengthening health systems.
When we launched our company, our intention was not just to launch a pharmaceutical company, but to launch a commitment to women's health, to improve the health of women and bring more attention and drive investment in the health of women. We are expanding access to sexual and reproductive health services and commodities and products to ensure that all children that are born are actually wanted.
Conversations span from sexual and reproductive health, LARC, which stands for long-acting reversible contraception, a highly effective fit and forget method to prevent pregnancy, reinforcing Organon's role in building sustainable pathways for healthcare delivery. The Ministry of Health says such collaborations are critical.
The data from 2024 indicated that UNFPA procured 40% of our national family planning requirements. The government of Ghana has taken various strategic measures to make sure we reduce this dependency rate.
By combining expertise, resources, and innovation, companies like Organon are helping to strengthen health systems, improve access, and empower women across Africa.
If we don't ensure that there is access, equitable access to health, then unfortunately we're not going to be able to achieve that. It's critical that young people are also empowered.
You're still watching News 360 on TV3. We are picking information that it is raining in some parts of Accra and beyond. If you are experiencing any of these rainfalls in your community, do let us know in the comment section. And if you need any safety or assistance, you need to put the NADMO officials on alert. So do let us know where you are watching us from and then also what the situation is regarding the current rain that is falling. Stay with us. We'll be back with more.
New annual pensioner certificate renewal policy from April 2026.
Under the revised arrangement, all pensioners will be required to renew their pension certificates once every year, specifically during their birth month, to guarantee the continued payment of their benefits. The requirement applies to individuals who retire at the statutory age of 60, as well as those who opt for voluntary retirement from age 55.
The law provides that when they are 72 years and above, they come to do what is called pensioner certificate. They come and renew to let us know that they are alive, so they can continue to pay pensions to them. Remember, pension is paid to living retirees. This change policy is to ensure that everyone who is on our pension payroll, annually on your birth month, you give us an assurance that you are alive and you do pensioner certificate renewal.
SNIT explained that pensioners will be able to complete the renewal through several channels, including the SNIT mobile app using facial verification, the SNIT virtual branch, partner bank co-locations, or any SNIT office nationwide.
Away from that, government is poised to return to the domestic market tomorrow with a significant fundraising target aiming to raise 6.946 billion cedis, 19.95% higher than previous target across the 91-day, 182-day and 364-day treasury bills. Now, this comes as government's borrowing capacities appears to have strengthened following 2 consecutive weeks of oversubscription after a 6-week undersubscription streak.
The renewed investor confidence has been a notable feature in recent auctions. The November 28, 2025 auction, for instance, saw an impressive 101% oversubscription, as investors tendered 5.782 billion cedis against a modest target of 2.862 billion cedis. Similarly, the December 4, 2025 auction, which sold 5.805 billion cedis, successfully raised 5.782 billion cedis, indicating a strong appetite for short-term government debt. The December 12, 2025 auction target of 6.946 billion cedis, 19.95% higher than the amount sought in the preceding week, signaling government's persistent need for domestic financing. However, market analysts suggest that the recent shift in investor sentiment, driven in part by the Bank of Ghana's policy rate cuts and a search for relatively high yield, short-term, safe assets, bodes well for the auction success. Barring any unexpected disruption in market confidence, government has a strong chance of meeting or getting very close to its ambitious 6.946 billion cedis target, continuing its trend of heavy reliance on the short-term domestic debt market.
We'll shift your attention now to MTN Ghana as it has wrapped up its 2025 edition of 16 Days of Activism after 2 weeks of awareness activities aimed at ending digital violence against women and girls. The campaign, which opened with a call for stronger online safety, focused on education, reporting channels and community engagement.
For the past 16 days, MTN has worked with schools, partners and advocacy groups to highlight the different forms of digital abuse, including cyberbullying, online harassment, impersonation and the non-consensual sharing of images. Under the theme, Uniting to End Digital Violence Against Women and Girls, the company says the goal is to help young people recognize these risks early and understand how to protect themselves.
We want to create impact, and the impact we want to create is to make sure our young men and women not only understand gender-based violence, they understand the use of technology.
Director of the Domestic Violence and Victim Support Unit, DOVSU, ACP Owuswa Treme, highlighted the role DOVSU is playing.
Of course, we are ending the activism today for the 16 days, but we are not ending the activism to push that violence against women and girls must stop. And not just women and girls, of course, beyond, we also have boys and men who also suffer violence in different forms.
MTN says, although the 16 days of activism has ended, its work on digital safety will continue. The company believes sustained engagement is the best way to create safer online spaces for women and girls across the country.
Somehow we needed to have an end to the 16 days specific, but we had to come here in the heart of Accra because we've been in regions as well. And we chose a senior secondary school like this specifically because we know that our young people will grow up to be men and women. So when we get them to understand gender-based violence at this age, we believe they will grow to become responsible men and women.
Following a successful year, Mobile Money Limited, a subsidiary of MTN Ghana, has crowned it all with its annual FinTech Stakeholders Awards and Dinner Night. Held at the Mövenpick Ambassador Hotel in Accra, the ceremony celebrated banks, FinTech companies, technology partners and agents whose collaborations have strengthened the country's mobile money operations and expanded financial inclusion.
MTN Momo has evolved into one of Ghana's most trusted digital payment platforms, transforming the way millions transact daily. Over the years, its partnership with banks and fintech innovators have boosted service efficiency and customer convenience. Speaking at the award ceremony, the CEO of MTN Mobile Money Limited, Shaibu Haruna, noted that their mission has been successful.
Our mission has deepened even further. What we have today is much more than providing financial inclusion, but actually driving digital literacy, providing support to the economy through digital payments, credit, investment, savings, and pensions.
The head of legal and reputation management at MTN Ghana, Papa Osei, emphasized the need for collaboration for a digital inclusive economy in the country.
At Mobile Money Limited, ours is to collaborate. You collaborate with others who have innovative ideas and bring these to light, bring them to fruition. And what is important to us, I think most of you heard what BOG said.
Some awardees shared the excitement.
It's quite exciting that we've been able to be recognized for this particular feat. We are the innovators in the market and we continue to trailblaze in the market. So quite an exciting opportunity.
This is a reward not just for us, but it speaks about partnership, and we're extremely happy to receive this reward.
The highlight of the event was a surprise performance by Kofi Kinata.
Time now to look at how our CD is faring against other trading currencies and how some of our key commodities are faring on the global market. And that's it for business on News 360. I am Menu Afo. Sports news come up next. Please stay with us.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Bill Ishen. Now, Ghana's Black Queens have climbed 5 places to 62nd in the latest FIFA Women's World Ranking, released earlier on Thursday, marking a significant leap for the revitalized national team. The jump also places Ghana 3rd on the African continent, trailing only perennial powerhouses Nigeria and South Africa. Akosia J has the details.
Year 2025 has been nothing short of extraordinary for Ghana's Black Queens. They started the year with uncertainty, no clear roadmap, no long-term technical plan, and an 8-month stretch without a single competitive match. But everything shifted with the arrival of a new head coach, whose fresh ideas and renewed energy immediately transformed the team's trajectory. The Queens began playing more friendly matches, gradually building cohesion and shaping their identity as preparations for the WAFCON intensified. The senior women's national team moved up 5 spots to 62nd in the FIFA Women's World Ranking and climbed 3 places in Africa, now trailing only Nigeria and South Africa. Ghana accumulated 20 ranking points following their home and away victories over Egypt in the 2026 WAFCON qualifiers, along with a respectable 2-0 loss to England, closing their football year on a positive note. Nigeria, the 11th time WAFCON champions, remain Africa's top-ranked side, followed by 2022 champions South Africa. Ghana hold the 3rd position, with Zambia and Morocco occupying 4th and 5th place. West African rivals Cameroon and Cote d'Ivoire rank 6th and 7th, while Algeria, Senegal and Mali round out Africa's top 10.
So that was the rise of the Black Queens to 3rd in Africa in the world rankings. Now, on 20th December at the Legon Sports Stadium, as Legacy Rise Promotion presents the showdown, a Shaman-based boxer Samson Sebeji will take on Belgian Ibrahim Diallo for the IBF International Junior Middleweight title. Sebeji recently won the Ghana Boxing Authority's welterweight title via unanimous decision. In his quest to retain his unbeaten 10 victories in 10 bouts, Sebeji sent a strong warning to his opponents.
On 20th December at the Legon Sports Stadium, as Legacy Rise Promotion presents the showdown, a Shaman-based boxer Samson Sebeji will take on Belgian Ibrahim Diallo for the IBF International Junior Middleweight title. Sebeji, who holds the UBO welterweight belt, highlights his readiness for the bout.
I've been camp in Canada for this important bout. So I have a good preparation in Canada, good sparring partners and good training. So I believe I'm going to be the new IBF junior middleweight champion soon in Ghana.
In his quest to retain his unbeaten 10 victories in 10 bouts, Sebeji, who recently won the Ghana Boxing Authority's welterweight title via unanimous decision, sent a strong warning to his opponent, Ibrahim Diallo.
Diallo, you are coming to my country. I'm telling you, choose a wrong meat. I'm waiting here for you. I'm welcoming you, and I'm beating you up. Trust me. Kick, crowd.
Adrian Cardenas, his trainer, reiterates their camp's preparedness for the showdown, which will be live on TV3 and Unia TV.
They are really well prepared. I tried to get Samson through all the scenarios possible for the fight, so I think we can adjust to whatever we see in the night of the fight. Yeah, he's been having titles from way before we start working together, and I only see him getting better. So he's more than prepared.
That's it for the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Bill Ishen. There's more on the bulletin after this break.
In my line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kale Charcoal Toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
Well, coming up, entertainment tidbits.
Amenshia Palace has denied any involvement in the funeral arrangement of high-life legend Daddy Lumba, urging the public to ignore false reports linking the palace to the process. In a statement dated December 11, 2025, officials stressed that such claims are misleading and advise Ghanaians to rely only on verified information. The clarification comes amid a dispute within the musician's family over the proper burial date, with his immediate family rejecting an unauthorized date circulating online. The palace warned that misinformation could cause further confusion and urged the public to avoid spreading unverified reports. Classical Boy, a 12-year-old pianist and finalist of TV3's Talented Kids Season 16, has launched the Lifting Others Foundation, LOF, to support vulnerable people. Inspired by witnessing many individuals seek help from his family while growing up, he used his piano talent to raise funds through recitals.
Someone brought back and asked for stew, and I wondered why they couldn't afford stew. It really made me sad. That is when I knew I wanted to help.
At the launch, special guest of honor, His Excellency Horace Ni Ayiankra, encouraged the foundation to stay committed to its mission. The event, also attended by Ghana's Most Beautiful 2025, Queen Isabella Etonam Goblezu, featured donations including cash to the Ghana Society of the Physically Disabled and a sewing machine to Sandra Abam. Stonebwoy, Ghana's global music icon, reflected on the growth of Afro dancehall during a feature on BBC One Extra. He highlighted how far the genre has come since his early interviews over 13 years ago and emphasized its power to unite people across cultures.
So for me, I have a great passion in unifying this sound. So ever since I could sing a word or two, I've had a strong conviction that I needed to blend the sounds of Afrobeat, which we call it today, and dancehall music, which has ever been, and that's how I came out with.
Stonebwoy explained that his mission goes beyond entertainment, focusing on promoting borderless African identity through music. Over the years, he has championed African cohesion, cultural pride, and the global expansion of Afro dancehall. His appearance on BBC One Extra reinforces his belief that music is a universal bridge and that sound knows no borders.
That's it for our package this evening. Thank you so much for watching. You have international news? No, right? All right. So that's it for the package. Thank you so much for watching. I am Martin Asiedu Dati.
And I am Portia Gabo. Good evening.